Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Deep Space Nine Reactions, where we have more of a conversation about the episode of the week that I will be watching. I'm Fred. If you're new to the channel, glad that you found us. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. And if you are definitely a returning viewer, and if you're going to notice a real continuity era of sorts because I am fresh freshly saving here, but then if you watch the Ninja Turtle next mutation videos, yeah, I do have like the scraggly facial hair with that for like the next several weeks. Anyway, I am journey go rewatching all of Star Trek Deep Space Nine from the beginning. We are in season. We're up to episode 7 because Emissary counts two episodes in. And one thing that we can safely say is that I like to basically run my mouth and have a conversation while I'm watching episodes in question. And this week, the episode is Q-List. It would be John Delancey's only appearance on Deep Space Nine because like so many things, anything that was like popular and like important to next generation, it gets shoved over into Voyager. Hell, the only reason why the Klingons not become Voyager exclusive because Voyager was in the freaking Delta Quadrant. That's it. Because if they could, if Gary Taylor, Rick Berman, Brandon Braga, and the rest of the wits I made up the Voyager creative staff could have like made sure that the Klingons had nothing to do with Deep Space Nine. They would have put them on Voyager outright. Hell, there's an episode, and before we get into Q&A, there's an episode that I of Voyager that's like in its first season actually. I think it's called Eye of the Needle or something to that effect. They come across a wormhole and they communicate with a Romulan. It's like one of the first of many will they get home episode plots that became such a trope and a joke with Voyager. But could you have pictured that as like, oh, they ended up in Romulan space, but it's the wrong years, like, and it's like a time travel shenanigans and everything of that sort. You just know that they could have like made the Romulans like exclusive to Voyager, as opposed to is like the Borg. Y'all know how that turned out. But that's another show. And anytime I can get inspired to rip into Voyager, I'm going to do it. Yes. Anyway, we're getting into Q list. As per usual, you won't hear the audio from it here. You do get the full display capture, be properly obscured in order to not piss off the fine folks at Paramount, CBS, Viacom, whoever the hell is their conglomerate known as. Let's get into it. Ah, Julian Bashir, you are so vapid you made Wesley Crusher season one comparison. The look on her face is not one of admiration, but she does give him the look that's like, yeah, she's going to go back to his quarters with him, mostly out of pity. But the look on O'Brien's face there, like, what the fuck is vapid idiot babbling on about? Ryan is just trying to enjoy his coffee. Yeah. Reason why Bashir ends up second in his class is because he screws up something on the oral exam. Like, and thankfully, saved by the Cisco. Like that, it's the Cisco's of power saving this beautiful Bajoran woman from listening anymore to Bashir's medical final story. Because if you look in the background, the same she turns her full attention to the next available dude. Hey, it's a locked door on a vessel, and in there, and a bit of tech in a show and a franchise that has transporters. It, 3 people on the Ganges. That's actually a wonderful bit of foreshadowing there by Bashir with the tricorder, is that he's detecting 3 life forms on it. Now, if you've never seen Q-List, the twist as the episode is that Vosh, one of the things that Vosh has with her is an actual life form. So it's an interesting bit of foreshadowing that if you're not paying attention to this bit at the beginning, it's gonna feel like, oh, it's come out of nowhere. No, they tell you at the beginning. Yes, of course. It is kind of interesting that both of us is like, when would O'Brien have met Vosh? And there's only one episode that would have happened, and that would have been the episode Cupid, the one where Vosh ends up meeting Q and going off and being taken on a tour throughout the galaxy. Yeah, a friend. Which friend? That friend. There he is. This at this point is actually the indication that Lancy's hair is was turning gray at that point in time. It gets really noticeable on Voyager, especially when, for whatever reason, they gave him some really odd makeup, highlight his lips. If you don't believe me, again, watch the Voyager episodes Death Wish, the Q and the Gray, and Q2. There's like there are some questionable makeup choices there. And I'm actually just bringing those here because the opening credits are rolling, and there's a space station that, in case you didn't know, Deep Space Nine was based on Star Trek, which was created by Gene Roddenberry, who was a complete hypocrite and outright pervert. The, the dude basically kept Majel Barrett around for because he was having an affair with her. before he got away from his first previous wife and married Majel Barrett. And even then, we can all with us go into a lot of stuff that was in, like, what were the intentions for the Ferengi? What did Roddenberry want with the Ferengi? He wanted them to be more well hung than Danny D, more well hung than Jack Slayer. We It's like, I would say I'm going to hell when I die, but I got a room reserved. It's, of course, you're wasting no time in putting the moves on Vosh. I would say this on Vosh. That's a wonderful top. Kind of loose and thing, but almost a nice clearly meant to be like roomy and room temperature. It will allow to add the flow. The jacket, however, screams 90s. Looks like some weird like spray paint ensemble that somebody just grabbed off the nearest rack. Does The actress who plays Vash does have some gorgeous eyes. Great chemistry here between two actors and everything, and it relates to the characters. There is there is like that big debate whether if uh because the Vash's actress and Patrick Stewart were having an affair because Stewart was married at the time. And it was like he was going through some personal issues. Like Captain Holidays was filmed, and then they hook up, and she ends up on a couple episodes of the Next Generation, and relationship doesn't go anywhere. I think my memory it might be a bit rough on that. It this 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 room here, where Vash is about to leaving her belongings and such. It's I believe it's the only time you see it on Deep Space Nine, but in Star Trek Online, you actually do see it because I believe it is used as like the bank or the vault for the players. Like it's kind of like the interface of it, or at least like the wall panels. And the dude can weigh a statue just by the way by holding it in his hands. And this Bajoran dude who is going through you know who would have been a great dude to play this particular Bajoran that's running the SA office? The dude who played um Pee Wee Herman's kind of quote unquote nemesis, who wants his bike, who actually still has Pee Wee's bike stolen. That actor would have been perfect for this role. Techno babble coming out of Vash's mouth. Kind of weird. And there's like the obvious MacGuffin in this episode. Like, oh, it's this glowy thing. We never seen anything like it. Like, But again, you have to actually kind of like put the clues together based on what you know about Star Trek, and again, looking in hindsight and paying attention to what's happening. Well, it's like, why does Sisso care if she's leaving so soon? Like, yeah, she was in the Gamma Quadrant for a couple of years. and he's la- and he's laying out the Daystrom Institute and trying to woo her, and it's like to get to the mystery of it. Hey, it's a personal matter. It's like how she got there. It's like it's her business. Horn. He was walking in the background, going into Quarks. He would proceed to body press the poor fool who was sitting on his stool. Ash was to choose profit over academics. Can't blame her. She's, she's a treasure hunter. Vosh is essentially Lara Croft before that character is even created. And if you think about it, a Vosh spin-off series or anything Vosh related actually could work with like her adventures and but it's never really explored. Might be like a few books here and there that explain it. There may have been a novelization somewhere with Q and Vosh and their adventures, but certainly not in any of the comics of like Q and Vosh doing anything. So there is actually room there for like content to be created. Like, what the hell Vosh and Q were up to all that time? Yeah, so uh, O'Brien like would check every damn thing. Something drained the batteries. Trust me, runabouts run on like what was it, three, maybe four AA batteries. I have a toy runabout somewhere, and it did use that. I believe it used AA's. It is also a bit of it's also a stretch that O'Brien would like have this backstory here that Vosh, like O'Brien would actually have that impression that Vosh and Picard were quote unquote close friends, and he was saying that the Picard likes a challenge in regards to Cisco saying like Vosh does not seem like the type of person Picard would go for. But considering the animosity Cisco has towards Picard, it's kind of like there's a lot of layers there. And again, foreshadowing that there was something on board the Ganges on the runabout that caused it to lose power, and the same thing that Dax is pointing out here, little graviton flux, whatever. It's like asking O'Brien about it. Like, oh, okay, so it's like start putting the pieces together, which they don't do. Now, why the hell is O'Brien being the one to escort Vash to her quarters is kind of a stretch. Only okay, the scene only exists for her to ask about Picard. And sadly, Vash never looks up Picard. She never appears again on the next generation. Brian looking back with a suspicious look on his face. It's kind of weird. Then, for the first time since the very beginning of the episode, Q appears. No, not just yet, but you know the scene. Seriously, those beds do not look comfortable. I prefer to sleep on a twin size bed behind, but yeah, that's a very. I would end up rolling. My ass would end up falling off of that bed. He's back and he's better than ever. Which, if memory serves me right, in relation to Q's appearances on the Next Generation, at the point Q's previous appearance would have been in the episode True Q, the one episode that gets blatantly ignored when Wow. Yeah, the mic just faded out there for a moment. I noticed it. Cisco goes a long way to not laugh. Again, audio issue there. The mic just went out there, or cut out there for a second. This Quark, your associates are like some of the biggest scumbags in the galaxy. They're rich, but they are not that bright. I like the fact that Q is in the background with his back to them, but you also see like the zipper running up the back of the of John Delancey's uniform costume. That is one of the big problems with the male uniforms for on Star Trek, particularly the TNG uniforms, is that the zipper you do it is it's quite noticeable. Well, at least and it's one of the big things that you see that's different with like the DS9 uniforms, with the zipper being in the front, as well as the TNG movie uniforms. You put in relation you request this. Yeah, Dismal assignment, Dismal. Like, okay, the confrontation between the one and only confrontation between Cisco and Q is like they do get some great barbs between the two. And again, think about the number of costume changes that or John Delancey has to go through. The TNG uniform, the DS9 uniform, the Bajordan costume with the corresponding makeup. It's like it's the most costume switches he goes through. He goes through a few in Cupid. He does a bunch in Tapestry, and he does like what? No, he does a couple. No, he does. He also does like a couple costume switches in the TNG pilot, Encounter at Foul Point in Farpoint. Rapid ones too when he makes his first appearance. And what's the other episode? His second appearance, the monk outfit, the red uniform, the admiral uniform, the regular TNG season one uniform, both red and yellow variants. So, but this is the one episode that he actually has like prosthetics on. And you just realize how much Q with a mustache looks like Harry Mudd. Like Quark knows. 1, 2, 3, KO. Yeah, Quark knows. Quark Quark has an indication that Cisco is special, that he could beat a godlike being. But again, the one time Q shows up on what's the joke? Q shows up on Deep Space Nine 1. Cisco punches him, and Q never shows back up again. But of course, the real reason is uh I just realized my mic volumes are I have dipped. The real reason he doesn't show up, and I said it at the beginning, anything that was popular on the next generation that could be shifted over to Voyager did. Like you, like they're naming Q outright. Where this big industrial fan? Where did they set this big industrial fan up at? And it's obvious they must have set up two for that shot because the hair was blowing one way from one angle, and then blowing from another direction because Kira's hair was being blown from like right to left, at least in terms of what we see here. and but then you see O'Brien's when he's walking towards the camera, but it's going front to back. Like, but which half of the station would they lose? It's not his style to punch holes in the hole. Again, but when you look at the pieces of stuff that get put, of all the little things that get put together over the course of the episode, again, you go all the way back that where Bashir says that it takes 3 life forms on the runabout. Table, the chairs, the wine bottle. Odo will be everywhere. Like, I'm watching you, Quark. It, one of the few memorable bits from Family Guy is like the Stewie referencing his cousin Quark Griffin, and then you have like, I'm watching you, Quark. Like, it's like Stewie as Quark, so it's an interesting little reference there. Oh, one of the few big indication that Seth MacFarlane was a Star Trek fan, more so than the other earlier Star Trek references on that show. I'm saying that because the entire conversation between Odo not understanding or the whole thing of acquiring things and stuff. Like, yes, Odo is very, what's the term, based of all this, like, of not understanding like why people want to acquire things because you can't take it with you and all that. People like stuff. But Quark tempting him about the platinum plated bucket, and Quark knows he had him because Odo was actually considering it. It's like, yeah, it's a luxury. Who knows? Bosch's hair is wonderful. The, but the big question here is why is Q coming on so hard and wanting to get back with Vosh? It's like, because it's clear that he left her, she left him. The one reason or the other. It's like the because they're too, like, well, too intense personalities, and like she's trying to make a point that she doesn't want to go with them. Yeah, it's a bit of a rough take there of Q, like laying into like all the stuff that he saved her from, but she doesn't want to go with him. But the fact that there were actually people observing that all this happened. Now, I am going to call out a dude in a maroon suit that was an extra in the scene who was standing behind Q. Like, it looked like he was just amused by the entire thing, all the stuff that he was witnessing, and as opposed to a look of like disgust or horror or anything. But it does say a lot regarding like, oh, the other people that was in the area, like they see what's happening. Is like they know they're not, they can't get involved. What if flooding the station of tritium gas? It's a toxic gas. Yeah. Like, this. Yeah. What security? What is security gonna do to Q, Kira? Well, Q ain't wrong. Q ain't wrong. Kira is after Cisco's job. I mean, from the Enterprise. Oh yes. Weren't you one of the little people? Again, that's a great line. It's like, commit that sucker to memory. And again, think of all the wasted potential, like of having Q show up periodically on Deep Space Nine, of him calling Cisco Benji would have been wonderful. Obviously, it would have been tough to fit that in, especially with how DS9 evolved over the course of its series. So you can look at the positive and the negative there. Like, yeah, Q wouldn't fit in there, but at the same time, it could have actually provided some extra context. Like if Q shows up and like like spitballing here, Q showing back up and like in learning or if and realizing like why Cisco was able to like punch him so directly, counter punch him, and actually hurt him, quote unquote. Like finding out that, oh, you're almost on my level. But there's also things that could have been explored. I don't know what's been explored in beta canon and whatnot. Because Cisco does ascend at the very end of the DS9. I'm that type of Star Trek fan, so I have no problem talking about that now in the course of these videos. But he's but talking about that is like you could have had like Q and Cisco meeting on that level of playing. It's like Q swinging by the wormhole aliens or prophets and stuff. Like, huh? This off the top of my head is like, huh? One oh, someone from humanity actually came up to this level. It was much sooner than expected. But again, it's something that's never explored. Masha lives for excitement and profit, which she does. She wants to settle down, but the allure of adventure and stealing some treasures, relic hunting, tomb raiding appeals to her. The station is being moved. There's and that's actually a shot from the pilot. Again, one of the few and only times that that you actually will see the station actually move. Turn the lights off and on for a brief moment. Again, and I know some people says like, "Oh, well, it's a space station." It's like you can't really move the station; it's stationary. You know, if they wanted to put the station on the other side of the wormhole, this actually would have been the episode, or at least a concept of how to do it. To actually take it through the wormhole. Of course, we are going to assume that Cardassian construction with forced Bajoran labor is not exactly all that dependable. Got some great makeups here, except for the dudes wearing blue bags over their heads. Which Ferengi is that? That doesn't look like Max Brody. Is I don't wonder who the Ferengi actors are because there's often like there was like a reoccurring set of actors who would play Ferengi. Bosh, you're many things, but an auctioneer is not one of them. Like she's a relic hunter, she's a thief, she's a liar, archaeologist. Again, kind of redundancy here, but depending on what's it's a Gamma Quadrant original. Just like I don't have anything offhand near me that I could use as for as a comparable thing here. Own a piece of the Gamma Quadrant. Yes, like sell light years, plots of space for the highest bidder. They go, where and they're going through all the techno babble stuff here, like of narrowing it down. But again, if you were paying attention over the course of the entire episode, knowing that something was on the runabout, what Vosh brought with her from the Gamma Quadrant, and that the fact there's an auction, and that you know that the promenade is on the central core. O'Brien has no faith in Cardassian construction, clearly. But at the same time, this is an episode that feels like it's being stretched to like not so much for the drama and stuff, but it there's certainly not enough. There is not enough in this episode to really fill it out. Because at this point, because I'm running out of things to comment on here. Either some scenes were paced too quickly, or yeah, that's a big problem with this episode. Things were paced so damn quickly that they're having to stretch some scenes out. Quark's place in the Quark's bar in the dark is kind of a weird. It's kind of a weird look. Q isn't doing everything. Yeah, cause trust me. Like he was offering the Vaja to like save her. But, and I do find that hard to believe, Dick. You saying he never seen a space station torn apart by a wormhole before? I'm guarantee you, at some point in Q's lifetime, that he calls something like that. Yep. Again, stretching into the techno babble, stretch it out, stretch it out. Use the techno babble here to fill in the plot. Again, it's a very much a Voyager and definitely TNG tactic here. Thankfully, DS9 does not have to reload. There's not many episodes where that stretches on the techno babble to fill stuff out. But it again, it, it's it's stretching. And there's the troublemaking item right there. Well, not Kolos here, but the thing in the box. Oh, what's in the box? A life form. Boom, 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 boom. A gamma quadrant life form. Boom, 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 boom. A cosmic zoic life form. Boom, boom, boom. There it is. Yeah, again, we're stretching here. We're, dude has 6 fingers. Dude has 6 fingers. I just noticed that there was with the hand popping up. If they're going faster. Yeah. Okay, why is Kira going? I'm not saying Cisco and Dax going, but there's no reason for Kira to go. Well, but there is. Oh, okay. Bring her along with a tricorder. Cisco was pointing his tricorder in the direction Dax was saying to go. And you don't need all 3 of them to have a tricorder at there at that point. You just follow Dax. Work just came in his pants when here with the thought of a million bars of gold press latinum. Doesn't help that he's playing with his earlobe. You pointed out, and now there it is. It's like about time y'all got here. Yes, get it off the station. But there is a continuity error when it says like how long it takes. If you look from how long it normally takes for them to get from Ops down to the promenade, it is not that effing quick. Head up to the top level of the promenade. Look out a mirror. And actually, a rather nice looking Cosmozoan. And yes, Cosmozoan is a terminology I picked up from Star Trek Online when I used to play that a lot. The jellyfish aliens from Encounter of Farpoint show up when on a mission in that game when you are traveling around with Captain Kumarke and her people's like first major space exploration. Again, I'm that type of Star Trek fan. He's going to the Daystrom Institute. Why? And Quark were laying it all out there that she's not going to last in that position as an instructor. Like, yeah, he's putting it out there. Yeah, Quark wanted her to smuggle some artifacts. But again, this could have made Vosh. This this could have made Vosh a great reoccurring character on Deep Space Nine. Like to have her keep coming back from like different places and little things with Quark. It would have gotten a bit old, but like spaced out enough there. It could have worked out. Now I'm not 100% sure, but I think I remember something on there because that the chemistry and the banter between its sitcom like nature between Q and Vosh is that both actors worked on the show previously, or they worked together before, not just before the TNG episode Cupid, but like on something else. So like they definitely have their timing and banter down on a sitcom level. I think Q was gonna miss that, and so like there was it's like there is there, there is something to what Q says about it's like he liked having her around because he felt like he was able to see things from like the wonder that she would see it. Born. And it's amazing that Quark and Vosh left because I believe Vosh was sitting on Morn's seat. And it's kind of a weird thing here. It's like, why is Dax looking so bemused at Julian? It's a rather sitcom ending is there. Not a strong way for it to end. I do want to know, is like the Ferengi. Do they list? No, they don't list who the Ferengi actors were, which is kind of weird because Max Grodenchek, who plays Rom, would get no he. If they gave him lines and stuff, like it's what it says when you have like background characters, you just have people uncredited in costume. But yeah. Q-less as an episode. It's a fun episode that where the hat goes at a great clip, and it certainly gives me a lot of stuff to talk about and things to reference and discuss and spitball. But once the auction starts, and the whole thing with the power drain and having to flood the station with a semi-toxic gas to track the source of the drain and everything in the techno babble, and it is stretching to fill out the runtime, and that's never a good thing. It's one of my biggest criticisms of Star Trek Voyager as a whole, as like the reliance of the techno babble to stretch it out. And yes, you could have had a plot and everything developing. They probably could have done more scenes, more actual character development scenes would have gone a would have served this episode a lot better. But you had Cisco, you have Vash and Bashir. Bashir gets sidelined partway through the episode. You had Vash and Quark, um, which works, but then you have the awkwardness of the auction scene as well as the technobabble scene. Yeah, that's watching it back is like the episode kind of falls. It definitely it definitely like falls off a cliff in its back in the back end. Like the final 10 to 13 minutes or so, it's rough. It is certainly rough. So what could have done this episode more of a service? Q interacting with the various people on the various members on DS9. Uh, like you get to see the scene with him and Ops, and a little exchange with O'Brien. But we only get we only have like him interacting with Cisco twice, and there was clearly something there. Like if there was going to be an opportunity to have Q be a reoccurring character, or just more of an in station in show reason for Q never to come back beyond the obvious. Again, Cisco punched him. You don't fuck. Like that's why they call him the Cisco first name. Don't fuck with that. If there was something else there to give a little bit more weight as to why Q doesn't come back, again, other than what I said at the beginning with everything surrounding Voyager. Like you could you like no like if Q is appearing over here, you can't have him appear over there. Like that would dilute it. Even though TNG is in season 6 during DS9 season 1, Q appears 3 times over the course of the 2 shows in this in the span of several months through Q-less, and Tapestry, which and Tapestry airs of air like a few weeks after Q-less. It's like there was like no there was certainly so the whole rationale that you can't have Q appear on Deep Space Nine because he's now a Voyager character. You can't have the crew of Deep Space Nine run into like the Borg in the Gamma Quadrant or anything of that sort. Or you can't reference that the Dominion has ran into the Borg. You can't make any type of connections. Like none of those connections can be made because a lot of the mindset and stuff there. Like there was an entire thing. There was like a big blow up of sorts regarding the creation of the Defiant for Deep Space Nine, because Deep Space Nine can't have ships. Voyager is the one with the ship. It's like we gotta make these shows separate. You can't have you can't let Deep Space Nine have ship battles. That's the trademark for Voyager and things like that. So but still, I thought everything I thought Vaj was well represented there, and her interactions with the cast, with the DS9 regulars, like Avery Brooks and John Delancey. It is a shame that we don't get more of that. They certainly have more of that natural chemistry because Avery Brooks does give some great, like fresh, that angry exasperation that he will punch something, uh, uh, outright. Uh, because in the techno babble thing there, you actually hear and see Cisco like punching the palm of his hand. Is like he is a very on edge. Like when things go wrong, Cisco's like he wants to do two things. He's either gonna punch something or he's gonna blow something up. One of the two things. This episode does give Dax a little something to do, but Dax at this point is probably the most underdeveloped. I've outside of her scene with Cisco in the emissary, regardless like, oh, she was Curzon, she was his mentor in a previous lifetime, yada yada. That of course comes back. That of course that will more of Dax's backstory will at least get brought up in the next episode, Dax, which we will talk about next week when I rewatch that. And I do believe there is a. I'm trying to think. Like, it's been a long time since I watched that episode in full, so I'm kind of wondering, like, what do I remember in terms of it being? I don't think there's no techno babble stuff to stretch that one out because that's kind of like it's a court hearing. But anyway, we'll wrap this up here. Tighten your friendship bracelet. Stay safe. Like, comment, subscribe if you're so inclined. And we'll see y'all in the next video.